Hi, I'm Shameen Jones. The leader of Group Two. Our topic that we chose is crawfish harvesting. Crawfish harvesting is the process of like catching and collecting crawfish, which are small water crustaceans. Most crawfish are raised in ponds or flooded rice fields. Some farmers prepare these areas by like flooding them during the fall. Crawfish typically grow during the cooler months and like mid-November, they're like ready to be harvested. And the crawfish season normally lasts from mid-November to like April or June. Um, Crawfish harvesting could be done like several times a week, depending on the temperature, rain, and like how much water there is in the area. Um, Harvesting is done using like a wire mesh trap, which is kind of like shaped like a cone or a cylinder. Farmers collect these traps on like every 2 days, and like I said, depending on the water level and temps, it depends on that. Well, that determines the harvest amount. Crawfish harvesting is hard work and it's like time consuming, so you have to be dedicated to do this. Um, According to LSU Ag Center and Southern Regional Aquaculture Center, um, crawfish harvesting has like deep cultural roots in Louisiana. We do traditional crawfish balls with like corn, potatoes, sausage, other extra stuff, whatever you want to put in it. But it's not just crawfish harvesting is not just about food production. It's also about like community and traditions and local identity. Louisiana is really really big on crawfish balls, or like we have actually have a crawfish festival. Um, but that was me speaking more on like the crawfish harvesting part. I'll pass it over to Abigail and she can give you guys more insight on the technology part of it.
Yes, so I'll just start by introducing myself. I'm Abigail Proso. I'm also a part of Group Two. And when writing about crawfish farming, I looked more into things that I really didn't know about. And that obviously included a lot of new technology. And so when crawfish farming and harvesting started, it was in the 1950s and they went to 60s and 70s, of course, and so on and so forth until now. But the history of crawfish farming, kind of like Shireen said, it has so much culture and it impacts all of our lives so much, like whether we believe it or not. Like in Louisiana, it's a huge part of everything that we do, honestly. And it is the best time of the year, in my opinion, honestly. But yeah, the new technology around crawfish farming, and according to RFD-TV, May 6th of 2025, so this is recent, they talk about using a device that actually goes on top of the water. And when they use this device, this is just one that I read about. I'm sure there's more than this as well, but when they use this device, it can tell temperature, it can tell like if it's time to harvest, it can tell like I think like the health, like a certain health, like maybe like it measures the bacteria and things like that. Um, but it can also help with knowing the population inclines and decreases and stuff. So whenever we would have bad weather or good weather for crawfish farming, that makes a huge difference in the whole process because if there's a decline, prices and everything fluctuates within crawfish season. So you kind of have to have everything going smoothly. So the new technology really helps that. And um, the article actually shows an example of this device like moving across the water and showing how they do it like amongst the farmers, like with them. Um, Louisiana itself has so much culture around crawfish and our food. I feel like it's really important to talk about that, kind of like I mentioned in the beginning of my speech about this topic. And yeah, I'm gonna hand it off to Austin and he can tell y'all a little bit about what he researched and hopefully y'all learned some from what I did.
Hello, my name is Austin Charpentier. Uh, I am also a part of Group Two, and I researched the development of crawfish balls and how it came to be. It originally rooted in the Louisiana cultural rituals, and those rituals were rural gatherings and typically it was just a ritual. And that's how it started. And then it later progressively became a festival like the Breaux Bridge Crawfish Festival, as the KPL article I found the history of crawfish bowls in Louisiana stated it became a bigger thing. Um, One of the ways it came into become such a big thing was the abundance of crawfish we have in Louisiana. Um, and rice farmers would cultivate these crawfish in the off season and would make it would essentially be a win-win. They would make money from the rice and then from the crawfish. But also the amount of the media came from also uh, got Louisiana to its name of the crawfish state. And uh, it became more of a symbolic nature of the crawfish bowl. It's not only just a meal, but it became a bigger thing than just a meal. It was a gathering of all sorts of people and festivals. And as it started off, as I said, it started off as a ritual. It now became a largely known festival in Louisiana, from Lafayette to New Orleans to Lake Charles. It's all over the place, and it's really showing the Cajun and Creole side of Louisiana and really identifying of how the those cultures are. And well, so basically, in short, the crawfish bowl is a basically a food ritual intimately linked to Louisiana's environment, agriculture, and communal business beliefs, and it evolved into a expression of regional identify identity, sorry, um, of festivals and gatherings. And so I'm gonna hand it on to Miss Joyce. Hopefully you'll be able to learn something from her as well.
Okay, hi, I'm Joyce Thorne. I'm also part of Group Two. From what Austin was saying, crawfish harvesting is a tradition here in Louisiana, definitely, and it depends on the season, a good or bad season. Even though the days of the crawfish can be spotted anywhere in Louisiana, according to the evolution of the Louisiana crawfish industry and LSU agriculture, it has increased in pounds from 6 million to almost 127 million in quarterly of a century. That's where it is now. And the United States is very phenomenal. And it's also overseas in other countries. Harvesting also is shared with different crop fields all over the place. And like I said, it's very traditional. It starts like in midwinter up until the middle of the spring, and then it goes with the tradition of what he said, like we usually have the crawfish balls and everything around Easter season. Like on a Good Friday or something is really when you see the difference in pricing and everything for the crawfish. But the temperature changes also makes a big difference with it, and it depends on each farmer. Certain areas may have drought, certain areas may have more of a over flooding, and the crawfish comes in sizes. The other harvestings are placed, like someone said before, where they put traps and they go on boats and walk in and they catch them in different areas and they make sacks with the crawfish. Then once they make the sacks, they weigh them, they put them in pounds, and they send them off everywhere to be shipped, to different stores for people to purchase. I don't really have anything else about harvests, but to say that it is a traditional, what Austin said, and Ethan can maybe tell you a little more. I'm going to give it to Ethan.
So, hi, my name is Ethan, and I'm actually from Burbridge, where Austin said the festival is, but I'm gonna talk about how like they actually harvest and like the process and cost to do with that. So, my article is from the Southern Regional Agricultural Center, and is how like the crawfish are caught and the process to sell them and other things like that. So crawfish are caught more in like nets, like more sturdy nets than like fish nets, to where they keep them in there and hold the bait with the fish themselves. So when they put the traps out, there's more 40 to 60 feet apart. So when they pick up one, they have enough time to dump them, process them, bait them again, and then set them in the spot where the next one is. So this gives them enough time to do what they need to do and harvest the amount that they need. The season goes normally from November to spring, so it's in the warmer months, colder. So when it gets cold, they get dormant and they don't really move as much. But people catch them, you catch them in like the basin, so it's like the whole basin, or you people catch them in ponds, which they manually flood each times a year. The biggest costs to do with crawfish are the bait and labor. Lots of farmers spend most of their money on the baits and try to make it back, depending on what the pound of their crawfish is and the surplus that they make. So, um, they try and harvest as much as they can in the warmer months, because in the cold, it's hard and few and far between. So when they harvest all of them in the spring, they make as much as they can. But so they try to harvest their traps a few times a week, but not too much, because then they destroy their crop. But overall, it's a very tedious process and hard process to do.
So that concludes our Group 2 presentation on crawfish harvesting.